seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer High School Roundtable here. Joining me tonight is Rafa. How are you?
Pretty good. Live here from Laredo, Texas. Here for one of my recruitment trips.
You finding any secret stars down there for UH Victoria? Or
A couple Alexander players. We'll see if they want to play for us.
And also joining us is Coach O'Gorman with John Paul the second, the Guardians here, who last year finished in the TAPS D3 as a championship game as the runner-up. And the reason why we didn't bring them on, number one, hopefully with a successful week of game action, they'll be the first San Antonio team with 20 wins. And second of all, next week the playoffs start. So February 26th they'll host. To be determined as of right now. There may be a play-in game before their first match next Saturday here. But Coach O'Gorman, thank you for joining us. And I understand that you have two players, Madeline and Emily, with you here. And we'll let Rafa get started, and we'll let him introduce the players. Or if you want to introduce the players here and highlight who's your favorite, we'll definitely add to that.
Thanks very much for having us on. We're always happy to talk about the school, always happy to talk about the program. Just in terms of favorites, I don't have any favorites. They're all my favorites, and they certainly know that. So we have Madeline Seebeck, who's with us, who is our captain. She's a junior. She's been named first team All-State for the past 2 years that she's played. Really the engine of our team, gets on the ball and drives forward. She's the same player she is in the 80th minute as she is in the first minute. She's a bundle of energy. And then on my right-hand side, we have Emily Rompel, who is our senior striker. She's committed to the University of Texas at Tyler to go up next year, and a really vital part of our team. She scores a lot of goals. Her junior year, she got 56 goals, and she's also the leading scorer in JP2 history. I think she's got over 140 goals in her career now.
Scoring all those goals, you got to be the favorite, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I guess we're going to start. So as far as your background with soccer, what age did you start when you started playing? What attracted you also to the sport as well?
I started playing when I was 3, playing rec. I started because of my brother. I did everything he did when I was younger, and he played soccer, so I played soccer, and I just fell in love with it. And now he doesn't play, but now he's one of my biggest supporters.
Is it because you got better than he was?
Yeah, that's why.
Madeline, how about you? What age did you start as far as playing?
Playing since I was little too, 3 or 4. I started because my entire family has been a soccer family, and I started in Germany actually. Because that's when I was we were there because my dad's in the military. When I was 3 to 4 years old. So
I'm sure you saw a lot of competition over there in Germany.
Well, when I was 3, probably not.
Because I have friends over there. They start them young over there, so yeah. I know the future bar in Munich and the Versa Dortmund players. Going into this season, what goals did you guys have going into this season for 20? I know you guys came a game short what was the focus on for this season?
Well, it's really just to get to that state final again, redeem ourselves, hopefully. And this year we just wanted to have fun as a team also. Last year was just hard overall with COVID and everything. We just wanted to get back out there, have fun together, and try our best and do what we can.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna go into every game like it's our last, and we're gonna do our job every game and score and hopefully win.
And being captain of the team, like how do you, as far as organization of the taking that leadership role, how do you feel about having that, working with the other players and so forth?
Yeah, well, it's really easy being a captain on our team because even no matter what position you play, everybody wants to help out and everybody has this sort of drive, which is amazing. And so being a leader on our team, really, it's just about directing it. It's just about like when we're down in a game or when we're having a slump, like bringing us out of it and everything. So it's easy being a captain on our team just because we all have a great bond.
Go ahead, Harry.
Well, one thing that Coach sent to it me, and I want to make sure I highlight because it was something that I could never reach here. With Madeline, you got a 1560 on your SAT, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know how you did that, but any thoughts? I know you're a junior, but any schools you're looking at as of yet, or are you still kind of early in the process?
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of schools, but really I'm keeping my options open, and I haven't committed to anything, and I'm still experimenting. I don't even really know if I want to go in state or out of state yet, so I still have a lot of decisions to make.
Yes, but it's outstanding. Like I said here, your coach submitted that to us, and I wanted to make sure that we did get it because that's outstanding. Like I said here, I won't tell you what my SAT score was many years ago, but it was not that high.
What are you guys thinking of pursuing as far as studying? Like, once you get to the college level, have you guys thought about that? Like,
I'm going with business for now, but I'm not totally sure, even though it's coming up.
Yeah, I've never really been set, but I definitely want to go into STEM, of course, and I want to either pursue engineering or medical school. I know those are pretty different, but I believe they take the same amount of the same mind, the way your mind works for them both. So I feel I would excel in both of those.
And how do you think that playing high school sports, soccer, I'm not sure if you guys play other sports here. How do you think that's kind of prepared you to take that next step? I wrestled and played, football many years ago, and it, just learning that team building skill, learning to work with others, I think kind of it led me on a good path, and I went the military route like your family has. But your thoughts on kind of the role that just in general high school sports plays and kind of helps shaping young athletes like yourself today to take that next step, as you prepare for college and the next step of life?
Yeah, I would say, especially at our high school, it's such a small high school, so we're able to participate in a lot of sports. And so I've seen it from a lot of different perspectives. And I would say high school sports are amazing. You get to know your classmates better. You get to form bonds. You get to try new sports like cross country. I tried it my freshman year, track, tennis, and just there's a lot of variety, and you make a lot of friendships, and you learn how to you really learn how to fight for something, especially in our soccer season. Having such a goal, especially for the new players, having a goal like that is something you really can't find outside of sports.
Yeah, the sports at our school, really important to get into. Like, you just make a lot of friends. I mean, you don't have to play a sport, but I've made some of my best friends playing sports, and I've got to know Maddie a lot better, which is amazing. Guy's amazing.
Yeah.
And like I played tennis too. I got really close with another friend. Like, and we went to the state championship too for that, or state tournament. So it's just like playing sports at this school is really fun.
How's it different playing with your high school team to your club teams? Like, what's the big difference out of that?
I would say the solidarity on our high school team. Since we go to school every day with each other, we're so much closer than on my club team. And on my club team, we play at a higher level, obviously, but it's not like we have that kind of cohesiveness that we have at school.
Yeah, I agree with that. Me and Maddie actually play against each other in clubs.
Yeah.
sometimes. So that's fun. I fouled her in one of our games, so I felt so bad. I stopped. I picked her up. I'm like, Maddie. But, yeah, it took me my first year getting a little used to. It took me a second transitioning from the club to school. But I really like playing school and having practice every day, and just with our bond, we're together every day in school, at practice, going to games, on the bus. It's really fun. Yeah, it is.
Is there a big difference with with Coach Gorman and then the coaching staff from your club teams? Is there a big difference or similarities, or as far as the system or of the way they run practices?
Well, I would say, Coach O'Gorman is Irish, obviously, and from my club, we have a lot of English coaches, and so I know that having a foreign coach, they have a different kind of style. So the fact that they're both from Europe, they kind of play more creatively. So I would say practice sessions are similar, but he does have to target more towards beginner players, since we have such people who haven't really played soccer before. So yes, it's more based on fundamentals, I would feel, than club.
And then also we get to practice with him 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Which at my club we don't get that much time with our coach, so it's really nice to practice that much with him and be able to do some different things that you normally wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah,
work
have a
on
closer
different stuff.
relationship too.
Yeah.
How's the campus community as far as embracing your team? How's the support there? How do they pack the stands there, or they're really say, hey, yeah, we're ready to go. We want them to win state again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people are really supportive and really want us to go and win state again, and they're excited to see us get there. Boys team's a little jealous. But yeah, everyone they want to see us get there, and they want to see us do our best and have fun along the way, and hopefully redeem ourselves, because they were all there last year and they saw us go through it. So
yeah, they all know we have something to prove. And I would say a lot of our teams don't go to state, since we're such a small, go to state, but don't have the same chances as we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that having this opportunity is exciting for the whole school. They are all rooting behind us, and they know we have a chance, and they want us to do the best that we can.
Who's that one team that you're really looking forward to playing in the playoffs? That you want to
You want Rafa's trying to ask, do you want the rematch?
Yes. Yeah, they played I know last year,
because we were the rematch for them.
We were the rematch.
And so we want to get it again. So we would have 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
So
it'll be like Canelo versus Triple G Part 3.
They came out playing amazingly, and they played their game in the state final, and we didn't come out and play ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know what we need to improve, and this time it's going to be different.
Are there any other teams you may could maybe be a little threat, or maybe below that bump in the road that you're in the playoffs that could contend as far as this coming season?
Cypress Christian was who we played in the semifinal last year, and they were a good team. They gave us some trouble and I sound like coach. So excited to play them again if it comes to that.
Yeah, and I mean every team, like you have an hour and 30 minutes. Every game is an hour and 30 minutes that anything could happen. So we know that we really, as much as we need to focus on what we need to exploit from the other team during the game, we also just every game need to focus on doing everything right individually and as a team. And we know that if we do that, we'll have a chance against any team we come up against in playoffs.
So before we get to Coach O'Gorman, I just want to say I know you guys got one more game to reach one of your first goals, which is to finish the season undefeated, the regular season here. So from all of us, I want to wish you luck on your final game here and for a deep, deep run into the playoffs. We'll definitely be rooting for you and following you guys for that here. Any final thoughts that you'd like to say to young girls that are maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 that are kind of starting out playing soccer? Any final thoughts or tips that you want to provide to young ladies that are starting not only just soccer but just playing sports and being active along those lines, or maybe more I know you mentioned the STEM program, more academic wise? Any final thoughts that either one of you young ladies want to say?
Yeah, I would definitely say whatever you do, you have to be determined in it. So, I mean, if you want to pursue STEM, that it's gonna be a lot of hard work, but anything that you set your mind to, you need to put in a lot of effort. And whether it is sports or soccer, it's so much fun. The effort pays off. Yeah, it's a beautiful game. So I recommend soccer.
I just recommend finding something that you love, and that might take a couple sports. Like I used to play tennis before I played soccer, and I thought I was going to play tennis, and just be open to change and finding what you love, because it might take a little bit, but once you do it, it's worth it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And like I said, the great job you guys have done all season, and we wish you the best. And hopefully, you do bring back that state championship back to the San Antonio area. So we'll be cheering. We'll be behind you and cheering for you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily and Madeline. Now, Coach gets to sit in the hot seat here.
Two great role models for our community and the New Braunfels and the Short Selma Cibolo area as well. I remember we were on the road to one of the games, and I look over and Maddie is doing some homework on the way to one of our district games, and that's the type of player that she is. That's the type of academic she is. And then Emily is a phenomenal player. And some of the goals she scored, I told her on her signing day, just make you go, wow. A player that scores her first goal in the state final 2 years ago was with her left foot from about 35 yards into the top corner. Two great players, but as people also two great representatives of our school.
Coach, do you really focus a lot on the character of your player, like the character of the players? Like I said, also with academics, how much did you stress on that?
The academics, we're a college prep, so the academics is vital. We use athletics as a way to form our kids, because if you think about some of the biggest role models in the kids' lives is going to be their coaches. So if we can be good role models, if we can be good representatives for them, hopefully they pick up on that. In terms of our school, it's been fantastic with the support that we've gotten from our deputy director, Coach Blackman, and also from our principal, Mr. Radif. They've been really supportive. Everything that we've needed, we've gotten.
And I think you make a key point on there, because I graduated high school early 90s. But I still remember coaches from that time that had that significant impact, that helped put me back on the right path, both grade wise as well as life wise, for that here. So to me that is such a great point, to where I still, remember Coach Rice and Coach Sawyer that helped shaped me. I'm, be turning 50 this year, but I still remember them as probably one of the best relationships that I had, early in life. There was with my high school coaches. So that is such a great point, and to me, that's why I feel it's important, not only for young ladies but for young men as well, to do something beyond just the normal school classes, whether it's athletics or drama, art, anything along those lines, because you get so much more out of school other than just hey, I'm showing up for classes 1 through 8,
Right.
and doing the schoolwork for that here. But great point.
And it's nice that both of the girls mentioned as well. We see them every day. We see them Monday to Friday, and that allows you to really get to know your players better. We are practicing 2 days a week. They don't show up for one. It might be a week by the time you see them again. But here every day, and we're seeing them in the corridor, and they're seeing each other, and it really helps make us a cohesive unit. I probably have as more fun at practice than the girls. We were doing a shooting drill today, and I got involved in a little bit. So it's good. It's good that way. But again, we've got a lot of very, very good players here at this school.
Coach, what is your philosophy as far as with coaching, like your approach with this team? When you took over the program, what was some goals, the philosophy so far as going with JP2 there?
We wanted to make them really think about the game. I'm not a coach who is going to joystick and tell the player, kick the ball here, run here, do this, do that in a game. I think that's what practice is for. So we really allow the players to make their own decisions once they step over that white line. Yes, we're going to give them some tactical information and say, hey, maybe you could have played the ball inside instead of outside, but they're the ones who make the decisions. And you've got to allow them to make those decisions and make those mistakes in practice. If you're hard on them in practice about making mistakes, I think they go into their shell a little bit, and they don't try those creative things. Like Maddie said, we try and play football. I've got to watch them play football. I don't want to see them lump the ball for 80 minutes every single day. I want us to get it down and play and express ourselves. So in terms of creativity, can you get on the ball? Can you make something happen? Can everyone want the ball? Can everyone be comfortable with the ball? But can everyone make good decisions? Can everyone keep us compact? And then game management is another thing that we've brought in. If we get up in a game, can we see the game out? We don't want to see players when we're 1-0 up sprinting after a ball and getting on and getting the ball started straight away. We want to make ourselves very, very hard to beat and organized.
What's a typical practice for you guys? As far as maybe because there's a fresh incoming freshman coming in, maybe into your program. What are the things you like to focus on your practices?
So first 10 minutes of practice is probably going to be open and free time for the players to just get on a ball and work on what they need to work on. For example, we've got 2 wingers who are working on crossing the ball. So for the first 10 minutes of practice, it's just get on a ball and gets 20, 25, 30 crosses into the box. For a center midfield player, it might be switching the ball. And I also like that because it gives me a chance to see how the players are before practice starts. Is there someone who looks tired? Is there someone who needs me to have a conversation with them? After that, we go into our warm-up, which is structured, which is about 5 to 10 minutes. And then really just depends on what we're trying to achieve that day. There's going to be some kind of a technical practice, whether that's a small-sided, possession drill. And then we might split the defenders and the attackers to really focus on kind of individual work. And we'll always finish with a game. For me, I like the games to be smaller. So we'll rarely play full-sided, because we want everyone to be comfortable in tight areas and comfortable getting on the ball and shooting. Again, we want competitors, we want players who are going to want to win. And in those small-sided games, if you incentivize it enough, the players will really work hard. And we like playing those small-sided games because straight away, hey, if the other team scores, you're off. So we're trying to teach that winning mentality at the school.
As far as we not a lot of focus has been on TAPS. What do you see as far as the comparison between TAPS soccer and UIL soccer with the public schools? What do you see any similarities or a lot of differences?
There's a lot of similarities, and I think there's a lot of good teams in TAPS. We've played I think we've played 6A schools in UIL or 5A schools, and we've beaten them all. So certainly with TAPS, you get a lot of good teams in there. We're blessed with the team that we have. I know at the 5A and 6A level, there's also some very good teams. So I see some similarities that way. The only difference is that we start our season a little bit sooner. So when we get to play them, we're already up and running, and they're coming into kind of preseason games. But we played Davenport the other night, who are a local school here to us, and we were 4-0 up with about 65, 70 minutes on the clock. So again, we like to challenge ourselves. We like to play up in competition, but certainly there's a lot of good teams in TAPS, and certainly I would recommend going to watch some of these games and seeing how competitive it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just like I said last week. I was in Round Rock and I went to see St. Mary's Hall versus Hyde Park, and that was a very competitive game. They actually ended up tied 6-6, so lots of goals, and then up going to penalty kicks. So, like I said, those are very exciting games. But like I can do see the competitiveness. There's a lot of great teams in the TAPS level, and I know a lot of them don't get the coverage so much, but I know we're trying to change that. Started relationships with you and Coach Cano, and I guess there are some exciting games, but there's also a lot of great talent in TAPS too as well. And like as I mentioned, like what. Getting the scholarship going to UT Tyler and all that, and hopefully we'll see more of that in the future.
Yeah, and we've played St. Thomas Episcopal from Houston 2 years ago. They had 3 kids who were going Division 1, so certainly the talent is there. I think often you think of a private league, you think that's not really competitive, but I think when we've played them this year, we've showed that we can compete with the 6A and 5A schools in San Antonio. We were at the Northeast Showcase. We won all of our games there. Mm-hmm. We went to the Harlandale ISD tournament. We won all of our games there. So we enjoy playing the public schools. We enjoy showing them, hey, we're just as good as you and we can compete.
So, my question to you, and I know we didn't exactly help you out with this, with the conversation earlier with Emily and Madeline. As a coach, obviously, you have a great history in the playoffs, much success going for it here with, back-to-back championship games, 1-1 in the final. How do you kind of manage the expectations, in the early rounds till you get to those later rounds for that here?
Well, that's an interesting point. We actually had a team meeting today, something we try to do every Wednesday, and really talk about, where we are or where we need to go. We've got to take one game at a time. Maddie, who's our captain, spoke, and she said, you've got to earn the right to play your football. You've got to earn the right to win. Nobody's going to say to us when we show up, here you go, here's a victory. Every team is going to give us their best shot. So we've got to take one game at a time. I think oftentimes the mistake is you look so far ahead and then you get caught in a game that you should win. We've got to give the teams the respect that they deserve. I know certainly when we first went into the playoffs, my first year, if somebody was looking at us, they'd say, it's probably a game that we're going to win 5 or 6-0. They didn't realize what we had, and we won games because we were scrappy and we were good footballers. I think the biggest mistake we can make this year is to take for granted a team that we might have beaten last year or the year before while looking at the state championship game or the state semi-final game. So one game at a time is very, very important for us. We've got to do our homework. We've got to treat it like, it's every game is the big game, because every game at this level could be your last game.
And Steve Sanchez asked a question, and thank you for the question here. Who are some of your role models? And it doesn't necessarily have to be soccer related.
I'm very blessed. I've had a lot of good role models in my life. My dad and my family, big role models on me. Again, teaching me to have a good character, teaching me to be a leader. Again, in terms of football, Shane Keegan is a big one. He was the head coach at Wexford Youths in Ireland and also Galway United. Fantastic coach. He's got his pro license. And then just in terms of football, I liked Arsene Wenger. He's got a good mentality. I like the way he tried to change things, come in, play football. He would be a big role model for me. Certainly someone that I try to model some of the things. And then we actually listened to a Jim Valvano speech today at the start of our team meeting. So certainly as a coach to look up to him and Arsene Wenger is what I aspire to.
And you mentioned earlier about the realignment. what do you think about the real line going into next year? Like with the teams you're going to face, how do you see expectations for next year?
We look forward to it. We embrace the new teams and the new challenges. The girls are excited because we get to go to Corpus Christi a couple of times, so I know they're looking forward to that one.
Go to the beach.
Yeah, go to the beach and do that one. But again, it's going to be good competition for us. We have Geneva School of Burney, who are coming back into our district, who we played our freshman year. We beat them twice. That's always a good game for us. We've got JP2 Corpus Christi, and I believe JP2 Incarnate Word and Brentwood. So certainly we're going to have to earn the right to play football in those games again.
Your final question, because we said we'd keep it around a half hour. We're at about a half hour here, Rafa. So your final question for Coach?
And I guess the final question is, what do you look forward as far as like how do you see this playoffs going for you guys this coming up?
One game at a time. He already said.
Yeah, I'll tell you on March 9th how I see the playoffs going the day after the state final. But you can merit success as a coach on wins and losses. In my 3 years, this is my third season. We're 50-5. We've won a state championship. We went to the state game last year. If we win tomorrow night on senior night, that'll be 3 years. We've won district undefeated. So in terms of the goals for the season, it's to try and make the girls better. It's to try and make sure that they're doing everything they can do to be in a position to go and win a state championship. I would like to say that we have a good chance of winning state, but again, it's got to be one game at a time. We can't, I can't come on here and say we're definitely going to win state because
somebody will record it.
Right, it's going to be bulletin board material. They're going to say, "Hey, look what the coach from John Paul II said."
Come on, Rafa.
But
there's nothing wrong being confident.
No, we're going to take one game at a time, and if it's God's will for us to go that far and win games of football, that's it. If we play our best and we give our best effort and we leave everything out in the field and leave the cards lay where they lie, I'll be happy with that.
So, Coach, I do want to thank you for coming on. Like I said here, I told you we'd try to keep it, to a half hour. I thought it was a great conversation, and especially with Emily and Madeline. Like I said here, you can just see what the role models that they are for that here. So, do want to appreciate your time this evening and bringing on the young ladies and from all of us, at SA Soccer Roundtable here. Wish you much luck. Both for the girls and then obviously I think the boys are still going to be in the playoff hunt as well here if I remember my standings correctly here. So wish both of you luck
right now. So depending on how they went, it could be a good one. But just want to thank both of you for having us on, for highlighting TAP Soccer and for highlighting our school as well. And certainly we're eagerly anticipating the next power rankings in San Antonio. So we're hoping that we've climbed a couple of places since the last one.
Well, we'll also be doing that, and then we'll also I don't know if you followed us last year, but we did a bracketology of the UIL playoffs. So I think next year, since the TAP starts, we're gonna do that for TAPs as well. It's a little bit easier because it's not as big.
But no, thank you very much for having us on, and I know the girls were excited to come on, and really thank you for highlighting our program and TAP Soccer.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And that was Coach O'Gorman from JP2, John Paul to the Guardians, out in shirts. Outside of Rafa trying to get the coach in trouble. I thought it was a great interview. Come on, you're a coach, Rafa.
You gotta have the Jose Mourinho. I want to win. No, but he's like I said, he's done a great job there at GP2, and I think for me, I think they're going to be the favorite probably to win it again, and I'm just talking to the girls. They're really focused and they're on a mission to kind of redeem themselves from last year's disappointment. So I think
you got that feeling of Lee, like when we interviewed Lee last year, you could kind of see that they were happy with the success that they had, but missing that title and losing in the manner that they did. there's still some unfinished business this year. So moving on, as we've already said here, the Power 15, Rafa Powers 15 will appear next week for that here, because we like to do it every couple of weeks. That way you get kind of a good gauge on here. With TAPS ending up this week as far as the regular season, we will go over the TAPS playoffs next week for that here. But where we stand right now, looking at the boys, what can you say about Central Catholic? Before district, they were not doing very well, it appeared. And this is, of course, per rank1sport.com. They've took control of the district Division 1 District 3 boys, 5-0, and Antonio and San Antonio Christian unfortunately have kind of struggled here. Your kind of thoughts on Division 1, the District 3.
I honestly thought that Antonio would kind of maybe have that breakthrough and finally get over the hump and knock off Central Catholic. But I mean, you got to give Central Catholic props. They were kind of pretty much like a sinking ship, but from those early losses. But I think those early losses really toughened them up, and they've made a real resurgence in the district games. I think they may, like I said, if the other TAPS teams in the playoffs may not want to play Central Catholic, I think Central Catholic's peaking at the right time, and I think that now everything's kind of coming together. All the I's and the T's are being crossed, and everything's going to be for them. So they're going to be a very dangerous team going into the playoffs, and who's to say they maybe get some revenge on the team that they lost last year. So don't count them out. The record may fool some teams, but that district record, there's, like I said, it's shown that they've really been resilient and have bounced back. Because like I said, I did get to see them play back in December against Southwest, and they took a pounding from Southwest. And Southwest is one of the top teams in the city and also in the state. But you got to give it to the Buttons on making that coming back from that adversity and winning the district.
And I'll say, don't sleep on Antonio as well, because come the playoffs, it's a one-on-one one-on-one. There's no tomorrow. From my understanding, they have talent. It might be that mentally being able to get over that hump to be able to beat them. But we'll have to see how far the three teams go through, and St. Dominic Salvio, like I said, here's done fairly better in district as well, showing that they've got some quality as well. Moving to Division 2 District 3 boys, St. Michael's and Regents, both 1 and 2. TMI, St. Mary's is 5th, which is still in a playoff spot for this district here. And then, St. Catholic, Hyde Park, and Geneva School of Bernie, unfortunately, has had a rough year. But it does look like St. Mary's is going to get into the playoffs here for that here. And so, like I said, here, that'll be something that we can look forward to next week to kind of see where they play. Most likely they will play in the Bi District, which is kind of a play-in to the area. Most likely they will face off next week. So.
And TMI, like I said, since they won the defending champs, I know that's a little off here for them. Will they be able to bounce back and retain that state title that they had the last 2 years? So, so don't count TMI now, because TMI, they still have that experience, winning back-to-back titles. So, I think they'll do some damage in the playoffs.
I'm just trying to see where they would be. District 3. 3-2. District 3. Yeah, so yeah, they would be on this. They would be on the other side of the bracket
Might be
there.
basing some games too, so like, cause so they'll have like a total of 14 district games. So I know they've only played 10, so they may have some 4 pending. So that 3 seed could end up becoming even a 2 seed, or maybe possibly even a 1 seed if St. Michael's happens to drop a couple games.
And I will say, just with the rank 1 sports, it's really dependent on the coaches. So their record may be higher than what's reporting, just because some schools haven't reported through there here. So just to give that also a heads up here. District 3, Division 3, District 5. JP2, the boys, and are going to qualify for the playoffs. Looking at their non-district play, they look like they struggled quite a bit, but obviously during districts, they're 7-2. I know they're playing it as we speak here. The Atonement, Our Lady of the Hill Hawks, and then the San Marcos Academy Bears, all looking pretty good shape here with for the playoffs. Although Holy Cross of SA could also be a sleeper, depending on what their other results are along those lines here.
I did get a message as far as with the Division 2, 3 boys. Only the top 4 teams do advance.
Only top 4.
Playoffs, yeah. So yeah, St. Mary's Hall needs to hopefully they can sneak in and get that last spot.
They need to get some points.
Yeah,
that I saw on here. And then let's see here for district for the girls. Division 1, District 3, the Lions and Apaches, or the Antonian through there. Incarnate Word, it doesn't tell, unfortunately. You can see they're playing almost 500 overall, but unfortunately there's no district record, so it's hard to kind of see exactly where they fall along those lines. For that here, moving on to District 2, Division 2, District 3 girls. St. Michael's Regents. To me, the surprise is Geneva, and then, of course, St. Mary's Hall. I think pretty secure over Hyde Park. For that here, your thoughts with?
Yeah, they have the tiebreaker over Hyde Park because they got to win at home, and then the shootout win at Hyde Park. That was the game I did last week, so that pretty much kept them, in the pretty much in the hunt for the playoff spot. I think they probably already maybe have clinched it. So I think there are a couple of games pending for them. I think because of cancellations, but I think I do see St. Mary's Hall getting. I think they're going to have that final spot. They're going to end up getting that 4 seed.
And then let me make sure I got the girls' bracket here. District 2, hold on. District 2. So District 2, 3 would be, and if they finish 4th, they'd play the 3rd place in District 5 on the 24th to see, to face the winner of the District 3, which would be most likely St. Michael's again for that here. So possible playoff match next Thursday for St. Mary's along those lines here. Moving to District 3, the girls, JP2, who we discussed tonight, Atonement, New Braunfels Christian, and then either Holy Cross or San Marcos will make the playoffs here. As we said here, JP2 is trying to get the 20th win, 8-0 in district on senior night, which I believe that they'll get that. I know they can't say that, but I'm pretty sure they will. And like I said here, they're looking very good heading into the playoffs. And the Atonement Academy, for what's being reported here, has had a pretty successful season as well. You figure their only 2 losses are most likely to JP2.
And then that's switching over from fall soccer to spring soccer, to the winter soccer. It's a testament for them as far as moving up and and contending and getting to the playoffs this year.
So looking at UIL on the District 26 boys, Bernie 5-0, Fredericksburg 4-1 in district. Davenport and Wimberley are the top 4 teams at this point because the top 4 teams make the playoffs. Bandera, I think, still on the outside looking in, and then Canyon Lake, I think, at least discussing with you earlier in the year, I think you thought that they would be having a little bit better results than what's happened so far here. So, thoughts on District 26?
It's like we anticipated Bernie was going to control that district. I mean, they are the defending 4A state champs, and I just don't see anybody really. Like I said, maybe I know Fredericksburg has a loss with them, but you never know. Like, maybe they catch them on an off night. So, but I just don't see anyone knocking Bernie out. But it's good to see Davenport, get in there. Like I said, they had some good quality wins. I think that 4th place final spot is going to come down to probably Bandera and Wimberley, unless Canyon Lake can make a run and knock off some of the top teams. It's going to be tough to get that 4th spot. But I think, like I said, when it's all said and done, it's probably going to come down to Bandera and Wimberley for the 4th spot.
27 on the boys. Lavernia 4-0. Pleasanton right behind 4-1-1. Somerset's not that far off either, and Hondo first year 2-2 in district. So right now would be in a playoff spot, although Fox Tech is right on their heels.
Yeah, this was, I think, like I said, Lavernia was going in as a favorite. They've been steady all this season. They've been successful. Listen, Pleasanton, don't count them out. Like I said, they're only about a game behind. Somerset, I think, we weren't too sure about what they were going to do, but like I said, they're in contention. The surprise has got to be Hondo. Being like I said, the first year program. Kudos to them. And I know we went to see them out a few weeks ago. If they can maintain and knock off, get some quality wins, and we could probably see them make the playoffs on their first year. Like I said, the second round of the district season is going to start pretty soon. So we'll see how Honda does, but don't count out Fox Tech. I think they'll bounce back, and I think they could sneak up and run. They could get that last.
You've been saying they're a sleeper. They better start waking up. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it at that.
They're a very young team. There are a lot of sophomores and freshmen on that team. Like I said, there are a sleeper team, and I think if they can get it together, like I said, and get that, get into the playoffs, they'll do well. But they're gonna, like I said, for next year, I think that's gonna probably be the team that's gonna contend against Lavernia.
And so to me, it might, because I think they play each opponent twice, right? As far as further here. So that 4th slot and even 3rd slot, although you think Somerset's, kind of a different level up than Hondo and Fox Tech. That Hondo Fox Tech, second match could be a huge match to determine who makes the playoffs and who just misses out. Yeah,
and that's, like I said, that second round always kind of determines who, especially tiebreakers, and that's a big thing. Goal differential is also going to be a big thing. So if you can blow out a team, I know people may not like running up the score, but goal differential could come into play as far as if the tiebreaker, if they're tied on the head-to-head, so they have to go to goals. So it's like I said, I think I think that 3rd and 4th slot is going to come down to the last few weeks.
Moving into for the 4A District 26, Wimberley, Fredericksburg, Davenport, and Bernie, on the Lady Greyhounds, and Canyon Lakes, at a half a game out, per se on there. So you got kind of 5 battling for that 4 there. Kind of surprised about Bernie being down where they're at, or
yeah, we had a lot of high expectations for them last year, and I know, like I said, they got knocked off by Corpus Christi Carroll, and my mindset was for this season that they would bounce back and really take control of this district, but they've had some key losses in this game, and I don't know, maybe it's because of the injury bug or graduation. You know, hopefully they'll get it together. Like I said, they're hanging on the thread on that fourth spot. You know, just ahead of Canyon Lake. But like I said, I think Bernie Greyhound, the Lady Greyhounds, will bounce back. But it's going to be tough to try to catch up to Wimberley and to get that top spot.
Would you say this is a kind of a tougher district for 4A? So yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure.
the girls,
I'd
I think,
have to look at the playoff to see who they'd match as of yet. But is it kind of a tough because there's other districts that we have where being fourth isn't necessarily a bad thing because it's an extremely tough division.
I think for Region 4 for this district for girls soccer, I think this was probably the toughest one of all them all. You know, I mean, you have some quality teams. Wimberley's a quality team. So does Fredericksburg. We heard good things about their team. Davenport's really come up. And like I said, Bernie's got that tradition. So I knew this was going to be like a dogfight. But I really thought Bernie would really kind of take control of the district. But it's still, like I said,
it's still early. Well, we're at the mid. We're at the mid, not really early. It's We're going to find out real soon in the next couple of weeks will they be able to make the next step.
Yeah, I don't think the teams from 25 4A really match up well with some of these teams here. So I think because you could see the 4 seed knock off the number 1 seed on 25 5A.
And that's the question is just the depth of the districts. Looking at Region 4A, Region 4, District 27, Uvalde, Pleasanton, Lavernia has dropped a little bit on the standings here in SA Young Women's Leadership, hanging pretty strong so far, in the district. Although looking at Somerset and Fox Tech, and even I guess you could say Hondo. But I think that 4 slot's going to come down to Somerset or SA Young Women's Leadership at this point.
Yeah, Uvalde is pretty much taking control of this district, but I kind of knew that they would. I know they had some good players returning back. Pleasanton has also the tradition too. They've been one of the better 4A teams for girls soccer, so don't count them out as far as trying to beat Uvalde in that second round and maybe tie things up for the and get a co-district championship with them. Lavernia, I don't know, they'll drop a couple. They dropped to the top 2 teams, but I think in the end they'll end up getting 3rd place, and then there's going to be a dogfight for that last playoff spot. I can see, it's not just for like Young Women's Leadership in Somerset. Don't count out Fox Tech or Hondo. I think whatever comes down to when they play against each other is going to determine that 4th spot.
And then I hate to say this, I could see tiebreakers coming in to a big factor here. And I hate saying this, but as you mentioned, the goal difference going against Poteet and limiting the goal difference against Uvalde and Pleasanton can make a huge difference as well on who finishes 4th in this district. Moving on to 5A, we got districts 26, 27, and 28. So District 26, the big 3, Dripping Springs, Alamo Heights, Bernie Champion, 4th, Canyon, and then Buda Johnson and Kerrville Tivey's, kind of hanging in there, although, they've lost a little bit of steam on that. They're losing a little bit of distance on that 4th slot.
Yeah, like we expected, the big 3 are gonna,
rise to the top.
Rest of the top end, but I knew that I think Dripping Springs is just a little bit different. Above all, they're just at another level. Just watching them play, and I really thought, like I said, when I went to watch them play against Burning Champion, I thought Burning Champion would really kind of give them a game, but Dripping Springs, they flexed their muscle and. They shouldn't have no problem winning the district. The seeding make him, like I said, the seeding is going to be important for that 2nd and 3rd seed, and I'm sure Alamo Heights and Bernie Champion want to stay within that 2 seed because being
the on the opposite side, right?
Yeah, because if you look at District 25, 5A, you're talking about teams like Liberty Hill, Georgetown, Eastview, Cedar Park, which is another a team that knocked off, like Alamo Heights and so forth. So so it's going to be important getting staying in that 2 seed, and then that 4 seed. I think it's going to come down to Buda Johnson and Kenyon. So I just don't see Kerrville, Tybee, unless they can pull off some couple upsets and knock off Johnson and Canyon to kind of sneak in and get that last 4 spot. But I think it's going to come down to the Canyon and Johnson at the very end.
And I'll just just let everybody know. Let's not forget, upsets do happen. There was a big one last night where Austin Westlake beat the number 1 team in the state 3-0 over Lake Travis. So if you're not playing your best, it can happen here. Now, we all say Dripping Springs is on a different level, but they still got to show up and put the bootstraps on, and which I believe they will. Don't get me wrong, but
they come to play, and that's something. Like I said, with every team, you gotta have to come play no matter what.
Region 4, District 27, Jefferson, Edison, to me are the clear top teams. But 3, 4, 5, and I think you could even add 6 with Lanier. But I think for me, 3, 4, and 5, Kennedy, Burbank, and Brackenridge. You've got 3 teams realistically battling out for 2 spots. I know Lanier's got an outside shot on it. But your thoughts kind of as we head to the second half of the season on how 3 and 4 will be filled.
Jefferson had a real tight game with Edison, and they were able to take a hold of the district lead. And I know last year, like I said, there are the defending champs for District 27. I expect them to repeat again. I think the next game, or like I said, that game versus Edison, that's actually the last game of the season. It could come down to if they all run the table. Edison does have a legitimate shot to knocking off Jefferson and have co-champions for the district, and it may come down, like you mentioned, the goal differential on who gets the top seed. So. But like I said, I think Jefferson Edison should be should clinch playoff spots. Kennedy, Burbank, Breckenridge, it's gonna who's able to knock off each other in that second round, and who can get also the goals too.
Is it almost like out of those 3, who can win 2? If you can win 2, you're gonna be fairly safe. Or if you go 1 and 1, if you can get 4 points between the other point, between them, or do you think somebody, if somebody gets the 6, if somebody gets the 6, they're definitely in.
No.
But to me, it'll be interesting to see if they kind of split between there.
Yeah, if one goes 2-0, one goes 1-1, basically you're going to go in, and the other team goes 0-2 around from the 3. Look at that 3 teams there. Those 3 teams there. They're basically out unless, like I said, they knock off Edison or they knock off a Jeff and get a quality.
Well, to me, you don't even have to knock them off. If you could end in a tie and pick up a pivotal point from there,
and that will help. And that would help too. And so, like I said, stealing points is going to be the big thing here in the second round. How many more you can get compared to the other.
So looking at 28. You got Southwest 7-0, Medina Valley making a jump up 6-1, Southwest Legacy at 5-2, and then McCollum, Floresville through there. Harlandale's, they're not getting the wins, but they're getting the ties. So they're still, even though they have 0 wins in district, they do have the 3 ties. Southside I wouldn't rule out either because they've got 2 ties as well. But if Harlandale or Southside can turn some of those ties into wins, you could see them kind of creep back into this race, against McCollum.
Yeah, Southwest, like I said, they should win the district title, but Medina Valley's had a real resurgence. They've played well, and who's to say on that set when they meet up again? And if the game is at Medina Valley, if they could not, if they can knock off Southwest, maybe they end up having a share of that district title. Legacy, I think, like I said, the only two losses for the top two teams. I think they'll go ahead. They'll end up clinching the third spot, and that final spot, I think I'm going to give the edge. I think to McCollum. They've played a lot better than Floresville, so I think McCollum's going to end up getting that fourth spot. To get into the playoffs this coming year.
Moving to 26 boys, 5A 26, Dripping Springs, Alamo Heights, top two clear, and who gets 3-4 all the way down. You could even include Veterans Memorial. Really, only Seguin's out. As far as I know, Veterans Memorial's a couple of games behind, but with the start of the second half, if they can get hot, they could make a run. But I think you'd probably have to say Lehman and Canyon are still there, or you think Bernie Champion can climb back up?
Yeah. As far as the district title goes, I see District 1 challenging Dripping Springs.
Dripping Springs, yeah.
Yeah, unless Alamo Heights would have to really get them on a bad night. I think the second round Alamo Heights, I think they do play Dripping Springs at Alamo Heights. So who's to say, maybe they can be able to get that.
But even if they get that, they'd still they're already a game and a half behind because of the.
But you got to also remember, Lehman, you can't count out Lehman. They could get a tie. It's starting off hot doesn't guarantee. It's how you finish. But
I'm crowning Dripping Springs. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm crowning Dripping Springs.
I'm kind of sort of crowning it a little bit, but you never know. Like I said, Alamo Heights could, if they get them at home and and they not get a win, because it's fair game, and then maybe that'll put some pressure on, and sometimes when you have that pressure, and not to make mistakes, may help, may cause you to play bad. But as far as that fourth spot, well. The 3 or 4 spots could be battled by about you because you mentioned about 5 teams. I think Canyon's going to end up getting into the playoffs. Kyle, Kyle Lehman, who's this? Not too sure about them. Maybe Kerrville Tivy makes a run. They're within striking distance. Don't count on Johnson too. My biggest disappointment has been the Bernie Champion boys. Mm-hmm. I expected them to be in top 3 in this district, and they have not played well. Like I said, we don't know if it's injuries, or it's a young team.
The situation is,
the situation there. But I really thought they would be up there in at least the top 4, to get into the playoffs this year.
So moving to 27. Lanier. Oh, hold on. Went too far here. 27 Lanier. First Brackenridge. 6-2. Last week's guest, Sam Houston, had a pretty successful week. They're 5-3. Burbank, Edison, Memorial, and then it kind of drops off there. So to me, once again, I think Lanier and Brackenridge, from my understanding, had a very close, very competitive game. I think Sam Houston's starting to turn it on, as we discussed with the coach last week, that there's some talent on there. So, I think they're pretty safe. But, that 4 spot, Burbank, Edison, Memorial, to me, it's another one of those, flip a coin, to see who gets in.
Yeah. I think the district title is going to come down to that game between Lanier and Brackenridge in round two. It was a close one. Lanier was able to knock off Brackenridge, but then Lanier had a little setback, and that kept Brackenridge alive. Instead of having a 2-game lead, they only have that 1-game lead. So that opened the door for Brackenridge to maybe get a chance and get that district, get a share of the district title. But also opened up the door for Sam Houston. If they can run the table and knock off Lanier and Brackenridge, they could literally get in.
Mm-hmm.
We could see a 3-team tie for first place, and that's just a possibility. Kind of looking at the standings, but it also there's you have 4 teams like Memorial and Edison. They could also end up being in the 3 seed, because they're only a game behind. So it's going to come down to, like I said, to the second round. Like I said, whoever's the healthiest and whoever has the best talent, that's going to determine where you're going to end up in this as far as within the playoff, the first 4 seeds of the playoffs.
28 Southwest class. Just you can already put a star with them next to number 1. Southwest Legacy, Medina Valley's once again stepped up. And then Harlandale, El Paso, or not El Paso, Eagle Pass CC win. Hanging tough just outside the playoffs there, your hometown. Or not near your hometown because you're Del Rio. But in that area. And then, Southside McCullum and Floresville kind of rounding it out. But to me, I'm more interested in kind of that 3-4 between Harlandale and CNC win.
Yeah, I think that's going to come down to those 3 teams. I think Medina Valley is going to end up kind of pulling away a little bit. Like I said, and maybe challenging that 2nd seed with Southwest Legacy. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if we'll fight when they play against each other. If Medina Valley can knock on Legacy, they'll can slip in and get that 2nd seed, which will be beneficial for them. Like I said, I think that last 4 seed is going to come down to either by CC win or Harlandale, when they meet up again. Like I said, CC win's only a half game behind them, so those last 2 playoff spots are going to come down to a lot of the heads coming up in the second round of the district play.
Moving to 6A, Smithson Valley, your number 1 team, I believe, if memory serves me correct.
Well, the girls, not the boys.
That's girls. Okay, that's right. Then you got Shirts, New Braunfels, Cibolo Steel, East Central, Wagner, Converse. To me, this is a really top-heavy with Smithson Valley and Shirts Clemens.
Mm-hmm.
Even New Braunfels, I don't, just looking at the standings and looking at the record, none of these teams exactly breed confidence right now, as far as if you're looking at the overall records of, if you're Wagner, in 6 right now, you still have a realistic shot of getting up to number 4 now. I will give credit where credit is due. New Braunfels has stepped up in district play with 4 wins, especially compared to their outer district play here. So your thoughts on 27, on District 27?
Well, this is important for like a Smithson Valley to stay in position, then that end up playing that 4 seed with the next district, but that might even make a difference because that 4 seed from 28 could also knock them off. But like I say, you got to give it to Smithson Valley. Ever since that one bad loss they had with Reagan, they've peeled off I think 15 games in a row, and so you got to give credit to them. So they're I think they probably learned from that game, and now maybe they meet up again. It could be a different situation. But I think Smithson Valley should win this district. Clemens did give them a game, but even Clemens, like I said, the rebuilding from last year's awesome team that they had. They had some tough, games, but they did beat Rockcrawl Heath, so that was a good win for them. So don't count them out. The last 2 spots in the playoffs, East Central could still have a chance. They did lose to Smithson Valley, but just by the slimmest of margins, 1-0. So you can't be overconfident with them. And if East Central can kind of get a little winning streak, knock off, the teams below them, and be able to sneak some wins against New Braunfels and Steel, they could end up getting that 3rd or 4th slot. But I think at the end, what we have right now is we're probably going to be in our 4 teams in the playoffs.
So here's a question for you. And like I said here, obviously you have a closer ear to the situation than I do. When I see Converse Judson where they're at in the standings, to me that doesn't match with where they're at in other sports. Is there a reason why do they struggle, in soccer, with your experience or knowledge? What to me, I would have thought, I'm not saying Judson has to win the title every year, but I don't see them toward the standings, like they are.
I think a lot has to do with players you have. And I remember when I coached, Judson actually had some really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one year that they did some damage in the playoffs, and I know they had a couple good forwards that really were the tops in that for that for the city. It just comes down to just what talent you have there, how you develop it, and also the interest as far as the numbers of players that you have. Being a football school, maybe where kids are 10, hey, I rather play football than maybe soccer,
Mm-hmm.
and that's happened, that happens sometimes. So, but it's really, like I said, the programs, it can be a crapshoot sometimes too, like what you're gonna have, and I'm sure they have athletes. Maybe some of those football athletes.
There's talent on the northeast side.
Yeah.
There's talent in that Converse area. It just, to me, it's, and like I said, it may be that they're young or along those lines here, but it's just one of those things that kind of sticks out to me, that for a high school that typically in most sports has great success, to see them kind of struggling. I don't remember last year that they had much success either, if memory serves me right here. So that's the reason why I just kind of asked that question, because I believe the talent's there. It's just whether it's being utilized or if it's being filtered off to other schools. Because I know in the with the local club teams around here, the club teams on the northeast side typically tend to be very successful. So
Yeah, like with Judson, I mean, maybe the talent's going to a different sport.
Yeah,
they're all playing football or basketball. So, I mean, there's other teams too, like that are good. Maybe like good at baseball, or they have a specific sport that they're good at, and maybe that's a lot of the talent kind of gets attracted to that sport.
So moving to the group of death, District 28, Reagan, Lee, Tops, Johnson, Brandeis, I think are in that second tier. And then there's another gap of Churchill, Madison, Roosevelt, MacArthur, and unfortunately Clark's bringing up the bottom on here. But the top four are all heavyweights, for that here. Do you see Churchill or Madison climbing back into the race, or you think the top four is going to be kind of set?
I think it's going to be set. I just don't see, unless my hopes was Churchill. Like I said, Churchill had a really good record going into to district play, and they've really kind of just sputtered, in the first round of the district play, and we'll see if they can get it together and maybe challenge Brandeis. They're gonna have to, really they're gonna have to knock off Brandeis and Johnson just to get into contention, to get at that fourth spot. As far as the top spot, like I said, I think it's gonna come down to Reagan and Lee. Those two pretty much have kind of separated themselves from Johnson and even though Brandeis has tied them, but like I said, going to that the Ian's Cup. Reagan put on a show against Johnson. They flat, took him to the woodshed, as far as just the play and the press that they did. And it was an impressive win. But hopefully maybe Johnson does, learn from that, and maybe they will return the favor on them in that second round. So, but I think more than likely, I think those are the four teams you're going to see representing 28 6A. But I think for district title wise, that rematch between Reagan and Lee that's probably going to determine who wins the district title. Now, if they tie again, we'll see. Goal differential may come into play. So, and like I said, you're probably going to have to run up the score. Maybe you don't want to, because you want to show some class. But hey, when you were going for a district title, you're probably going to have to. You're going to have to do it. So no matter what.
if I heard you right, in playoffs, District 27 matches up versus 28, right? So
we would have Smithson Valley play Brandeis. That would be a good game. That
right,
would be
but
a good game.
to me, my question is if you finish 1 or 2 or even 3, I think you'd still be considered favorites going against the 27 schools, right?
Yeah.
So seeding on here, at least early, doesn't necessarily whether you finish first or second, outside of saying, hey, we're district champs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a huge difference until you get later on, and then you get more of the Valley schools to see where they filter out on the bracket. Is that correct?
Yeah. Or here for this would be the Austin schools.
Or the Austin schools, pardon me.
And the Round Rock schools. So, like, for instance, like, say, we could have a first round between Smithson Valley and Brandeis. That'll be a great game. Johnson versus Clemens. I would give the edge to Johnson on that one against Clemens, even though Clemens has bounced back. I think I think they're just in a little tougher district, but that's also that can go either way. But I think Johnson's has played.
But then that next issue is if you start playing, the West Lakes or the Lake Travises. That's where coming into finishing first makes a huge difference.
Well, even finishing first, you could end up playing like last year. Lee in that second round game ended up playing against
Vandergraft.
Yeah. Which was, I think they were the 3rd seed for that district with Lake Travis and I believe Lake Travis and Westlake, or no, they're in that Round Rock district, with Leander and so forth. So, and I know the top right now, the top teams for that 25 has been Westwood, Stony Point, McNeil, and Vandergrift. So, that's those 4 districts pretty much, like I say, 25, 26, 27, 28. It's basically the group of death when it comes to the playoffs. So if you have, I think the advantage that, the 29, I think 29-6A has the advantage because they avoid all that. All those teams end up beating up on each other. And that's why, looking like if you look at Harlan has, I'm not saying the easier path, but I think they have
it is an easier path. It is. You're not facing the Austin schools.
It's a winnable path, but you still gonna have to worry about, I know the first round they play the Laredo teams, and the way the district standing is, like, Marshall against Alexander or LBJ or United, I'm gonna go with the Laredo schools. The same thing with Stevens. I think the two teams that maybe will give problems, that shouldn't have a problem with the Laredo teams, will be Harlan and O'Connor. And then once you get to the Valley's still kind of down this year. I saw how hard as they can play. They struggled with Churchill. The Brownsville Rivera's in danger of not making the playoffs. Hannah's barely hanging on the thread, and Los Fresnos I think they're leading in that district. So, like I said, Harlan and O'Connor, going into the playoffs, they may end up you could see both of them in that regional semifinal. So we could see 3 or 4 teams represent, or even 4. We can have 4 San Antonio teams represent the regional final. If Reagan, like I said, Reagan, Johnson, or Smithson Valley, or Lee knock off those Austin area teams. But, coming here with District 29-6A, like I said, Harlan's going to win this district. O'Connor.
Well, I won't say they're going to win it because O'Connor has a shot.
Well, Harlan took care of O'Connor.
Right, but they're on the rematch, though. But those are the 2 class teams on here. To me, my discussion is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You could flip a coin. Mm-hmm. It's that close, and I know Taft is on the outside.
I agree so.
But to me, when you've got 6 teams right there out of the 9 that are a game and a half ish, 2 games in, this second half of the North Side District 29 is going to be wild. It's you being able to.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was like, to me, it's better to get ties than losses, obviously. But I think that's gonna be the key, is if you can maximize your wins, but if you can, as you mentioned, steal those points where maybe you're not playing your best, but you walk away, you split the points, get 1-1. I think that's going to be a huge determining factor on who gets 3 and 4.
I think the big thing is the second round is going to be basically your elimination tournament. If you can if Stevens can knock off Taft, basically you eliminate them from the playoffs. So I think the mindset for those teams like Stevens, Marshall, Brennan, Holmes, and Jay Warren, we're gonna have to win games. Scratch off O'Connor, scratch off Harlan. Like I said, unless you can steal a point, which will be great. That'll help getting a tie. But I think you need to take care of business from wherever the teams are in the middle of the pack. You need to start eliminating them, and that way you can start separating yourself. And especially if they have the tiebreaker over you in the first round, you definitely have to beat them in the second round, because it may come down to that head to head at the towards that final game.
So I think that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, the ladies.
Ladies, yeah. Can't forget about that.
We're at the end, District 29. Oh wait, we got the ladies to do on 6A. So Smithson Valley, New Braunfels, Cibolo, and Schertz rounding out the top 4. Judson and East Central, kind of outside shot here, but I think this is another one where the top 4 is kind of set. Just a matter of the seeding, really 2 through 4. I don't think anybody's getting by Smithson Valley. Yeah,
Smithson Valley's been on a roll, and like I said, they're my top team for my Power 15. They're a team to look out for, and I think they do match up well with the teams from 28 6A. I think they can compete with them, and I think they also can compete. They did knock off Austin Westlake, so they definitely can compete with the Austin area schools. So they'll probably be one of my contenders going into getting to that regional tournament. But in New Braunfels, Cibolo, and Clemens, I think they'll probably be they're all within the game each other, so the seeding could play a big difference on how when they match up against each other. So we could see different seedings towards the end.
Moving to 28, Clark, Johnson, Reagan, Brandeis, and then you got Madison and Lee. That's kind of on the edge at this point here, but this is another one where I think Clark and Johnson and I guess Reagan have kind of separated themselves, and then there's really 3 teams kind of battling for that last spot, which I think is what you mentioned. Any shockers on? I think Clark snuck in. I think from your early season records. How do you see that 4th spot being? Ending up?
Don't count out Madison. They got a good team, and Lee, same thing with Lee. Don't count them out. They're within striking distance. To see if they can knock off Brandeis, and it's going to make things very interesting. I think Reagan, Johnson, and Clark's kind of, even though you can see that Brandeis is a 1 game behind Johnson, and like I said, Brandeis is another good team, so maybe they can also sneak up and knock off Reagan and Johnson in round 2. So it's like I said, it's going to come down to, as far as Clark, I think Clark's pretty much clinched their ticket to the playoffs. But from 2 to 6, it's still competitive, and there could be some teams that end up not making that. Reagan and Brandeis still have a shot at not making the playoffs, or even Johnson too, if Lee and Madison can get it together and make a run in the second half. So it's going to be.
There's 2 teams that if they were in any other district, 27 or 29, most likely they would be a playoff team. Is that what you say?
Yeah. Like I said, I think in some other districts, like I said, like Madison, Lee will be in the playoffs. Um, you know, but this is, like I said, this is one of the districts is one of the toughest girls districts. This is just very stacked. You know, you're 6 teams deep. You know, it's going to be a shame 2 of them are not going to make it in, which probably would make it in another district. So
Right, 27 or 29,
yeah.
they would most likely make it in, I think.
So this is going to come down, like I said, who knocks off who, and if Leak and Madison can knock off Johnson and Reagan and get a little hot streak, you know, who's to say that they don't sneak in and get that 3rd and 4th spot, or maybe even the 2nd spot.
Moving to 29, District 29, Brennan, O'Connor, Taft, I think the 3 clear, and then, you know, Stevens, Harlan, I think are fighting for that 4th spot, and then, you know, Jay, Warren, and Holmes and Marshall, unfortunately, outside shots. I guess John Jay would be the one that you'd say closest there, but I think, you know, to me, that second match between Stevens and Harlan, I think determines who that 4th slot is.
Yeah. And how deja vu is this? Remember from last year that we had Brandon, O'Connor, Taft at the top 3 within striking distance, and it came down to the very last game to determine the district champ. And like I said, they're all within a game and a half with each other. This is for Brennan. It's their district title to lose. You know, if they can knock off O'Connor and Taft, they'll be district champs. Same thing with O'Connor, except they can knock off Brennan and Taft, because they'll win the district champs, and vice versa with Taft. So it's going to come down to that. As far as the 4th spot, like you mentioned, it's going to be either Stevens and Harlan to get that 4th spot, and they'll play more likely. Like I said, they play against the Laredo teams, and I don't think any of the Laredo teams can beat. And that includes Del Rio. I don't think they can compete with any of the 4 teams that they have here, or even with the 5 teams with Harlan. I think they can make a clean sweep in the playoffs.
And guess who plays this weekend? Stevens and Harlan's plays Saturday at 12 o'clock.
So that should be a good one. That could determine that last playoff spot. And I don't know who won the first. I'm sure probably Stevens probably won round 1, and if Harlan can win this, there will be take a little half a game lead and
actually Harlan beat Stevens
the first round.
The first round 4-3.
So Stevens definitely needs to win this one, but to at least get to tie things up a bit as far as face head to head. But you know, Harlan, like I said, they're a half game behind. They need to make a you know, get this win to kind of leapfrog them, and they'll have that tiebreaker over Stevens if it comes down to the final game.
Yeah, so to me that's a huge game that kind of caught my eye coming up here this weekend. And like I said, I'd have to check the north side athletic schedule just to confirm the time, but Saturday that's, you know, if you're, you know, in the north side area here, that would be one that might be a must watch.
Yeah.
See which one goes through, because they're two quality programs, 2 rivals as well. Those schools. So I think that's it. Lori Lee mentioned it is at noon.
Owner, that's at Gustafson or at Ferris?
I'll tell you here. Hold on 1 second here. So I think AJ's got a match, so I won't be able to go. So here, it's at Ferris.
So not too far away from where I'm at. So you may see an appearance from me there.
AJ has a match back in Austin. I didn't tell you our Austin trip this past week, did I?
No.
So we went up to Austin, and we got there. It started the hailing, sleeting, whatever you want to call it, frozen rain. Instead of waiting, we looked at the weather. It said, hey, it should pass by 1:45 because our game started at 1. So instead of waiting, they decided to kick off. And about 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, there was a lightning strike. And of course, by that point, the field's almost white because it kept sleeting and hailing. So they ended up calling the game. And by the time we got back to San Antonio, it was all nice and sunny. And I was like, oh, but, AJ was, they were kind of excited because, as you're going one way, you're all like this because of the sleet coming at you. But, they had
I've been in one of those games. I think we were at Ratliff Stadium in Odessa. We played Amarillo High. It was sleeting, but we had a 50-mile-per-hour wind. And that ice was actually cutting you.
Oh.
And that was the worst. That was probably one of the worst games. And I told, being an assistant varsity coach, and I tell our head coach, you think next year we can go to the Valley or Corpus for a tournament because we're tired of coming here to West Texas in the cold.
I was surprised they played it though. To me, I was surprised. And I understand, when you're talking about clubs, they typically line the schedule. So it might, for me as a parent, been like, hey, just push it back 30 minutes. But if you're pushing this game back 30 minutes, if they have games after that, then that's also impacting them. So hindsight, I kind of understand it. But as a parent,
yeah. I remember I was on that field, that Northeast Metropolitan field. I don't know if you've ever been there. We had my second to last year coaching club. We had a 3-hour rain delay, and we would go back about to play. Boom, another lightning strike. Oh, you got to come off the field. So we had to wait a good 3 hours just to play that game. So yeah.
So I know you're in Laredo. And so I've got one final question, then we'll let you out because we went a little bit longer than what we should. Cody Rhodes going to possibly to WWE. Your thoughts on that? I know you're a big AEW fan, and he was one of the pillars, right, of AEW?
Executive Vice President. Listening to Busted Open this morning, they had a lot to say. I think, could this be a sham? Could they be like, he didn't reach a contract with being an executive, but is he going to come back and do like a Hulk Hogan 1996 Bash at the Beach heel turn? The new version of the NWO.
From everybody I've heard says that WWE gave them, because it's a package deal, both him and his wife, Brandy Rhodes, an offer that they just couldn't turn down.
Refuse.
So.
And that's wondering how that's going to affect their show, because they do have a reality show, and then I know he has that other show, that game show, that Go Big show. We'll see how that happens, unless they're going to do the reality show on Peacock, which is a possibility they're going to put that. My thing was, I think he was going to try to buy Ring of Honor and really take control of that and kind of put his stamp of approval on that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I think it's a loss for AEW, but I think they'll be fine. I think they still have Kenny Omega. So
to me, it's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost got to the point where there's so much crossover now. Is it really that much difference? And
yeah, they're supposed to come. I think they're coming to Austin and San Antonio, I think, in March. Yeah, I was looking forward to getting my little Funko Pop signed by Cody, but I guess that's not gonna happen.
Well, the good news is WWE does love San Antonio, so whenever they make the Texas trip, they'll be there. But
and then the other news, the SAFC jersey, the little sneak peek.
Sneak peek on Friday. What is bothering me, though, I won't lie to you, and there hasn't been any player announcements in 10 days. We're not RGV. Come on, we're not used to
need some defense.
need some defense. Although there was an Instagram post that had some interesting travel plans, possibly, which I think we'll be very excited. I did get the email from the new social media guy today, so
hopefully it's not to El Paso, or hopefully it's not to Austin or Dallas.
well, no, he had San Antonio on the map. So for that here, but the new social media, Mr. Kevin Bass, officially is in San Antonio this afternoon. He sent out a introductory email to that from SAFC communications team. So I know I'm looking forward to working with him. Listening to 1868 Weekly, Bradley and John, who used to run that or part of that. I guess I shouldn't say used to run it because there was also a third, Matt Rafferty, that was also a huge part of the show. Both say he's a great guy, so I'm looking forward to doing that. I've had some discussions with James Hope, with the Crocketeers, 210 Alliance here. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Mission City, there hasn't been a lot of communication from anybody, for that here. So, is trying to discuss about possibly, setting up, a supporters show here as we get closer to the season. But it sounds like the Crocketeers and 210s are the supporters groups at this point.
Should be a fun
for
show.
that here. For that, if we can line something up and we're talking, some other things with James here. Since we didn't do a show, SAFC went to Dallas. They lost 6-0, I think it was 5-0, 35 minutes in. Listening, reading the tweets from Third Degree, and talking to him, they were just at different levels. San Antonio had been in camp a week along those lines for that here, maybe 10 days at most, and then some of those days you had the frozen rain and snow and freeze, so most likely they didn't get a lot of training on there. Plus, let's be honest, we got a core, but the back line's still very new. The midfield's new. The forwards are relatively the same, but we don't know the arrangements on which they have it. And on Sunday, if you guys can tune in, we're going to have a special guest, John from USL Tactics, because he is not very friendly right now with San Antonio's lineups on the analytics side. And to be honest, San Antonio has lost a lot, with Jose and Epps and others that are gone. So it'll be interesting to see Royce and him and you talk tactics and analytics along those lines here.
There's a Jose mania going on in Denmark right now. He's been on Instagram, and he's probably driving all the Danish ladies crazy over there.
And I will say, for those that are interested in it, we are trying to work with some. Royce is kind of taking the lead on this here. I don't know whether by choice or not by choice. If we wanted to get a Jose jersey, kit, or scarf, right now the club doesn't ship to the United States here. So there are a couple options, but they are looking to see if the team can open up the shipping to the United States. Since I know quite a few people here in San Antonio would probably be very interested in some sort of Jose gear with his new club in Denmark. But if not, we might have some other arrangements to where Max is over in Germany. Maybe if we can piece together, order, can ship to him, and then he can ship it to stateside. Of course, we'd have to compensate Max, for the shipping and stuff for that here. But any final thoughts that you have here? I gave like 15 final thoughts here for that here, but I did want to kind of touch base, since we didn't have a show on Tuesday. Yeah. And yes, James, I think FC Dallas is going to be a playoff team here. Just, they started spending some money, and everybody forgets last year they were going into the season, they were thought of as a playoff team, and then they had a poor season, for that here. So
they even had Pepe. I don't know how they cannot make the playoffs. But my final thought, like I said, just looking forward to this. A lot of the second round of the district play for the UIL soccer. So hopefully I'll get to see some games out there. And I know I'm doing a lot of traveling. I'm coming back to Laredo again in a couple weeks. Maybe I'll live stream one of those, like a special game there here. We'll see. But my final thought, like I said, if you have a chance, hey, go check out some great soccer, whether it's TAPS or UIL. Go cheer on them. We had some great talent, like I mentioned. Like we had the JP2's the girls soccer team. They're gunning for another state title, and hopefully they can, like I said, they can pull things through and bring it back to the area and just give that support to there, because these players do deserve it. Even the coaches too. They deserve all the support that we have for to promote the soccer here in our town.
And I do think that we are going to try to do a bracketology for TAPS next week, so we may not have a guest on. I don't think we have a guest scheduled at this point.
We can find one. We'll see.
We can find one, but
coaches watching, hey, contact us if there's any coaches. Contact us. We love to have you. We love talking to different coaches from different areas, from different parts of San Antonio, because everyone has a different perspective when it comes to high school soccer, and we love to hear your backstory.
Yeah, and like I said here, if you want to come on, we're obviously, we ask the hard hitting questions of, especially Rafa. Hey, do you think you're going to win it all? So, but do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Want to thank John Paul, the second, the Guardians there, for allowing Coach O'Gorman and Madeline and Emily both coming on, and want to wish Emily much success. Number one for the playoffs this year, but getting a scholarship next, playing at the University of Texas at Tyler for that here, and also Madeline. Obviously, she's a two-time All-State. She's got grades that I could only dream of. Her future is very bright. No matter if it's whether soccer or going into the academic world. For that here, but thank you two young ladies. Like I said, it was an awesome conversation with the two of you. Coach O'Gorman, we're going to definitely have to have you on again here. Just like I said here, I have a feeling you have some soccer stories that would be fun to share from your time over in Ireland, and just kind of the differences between soccer over there compared to soccer over here for that here. But Rafa, safe travels back. I know you're still on the road this week, and I think you'll be back in a couple of days. Yeah, I know there's an SAFC friendly this weekend, but it's closed, so we'll give you what information we can. Hopefully there'll be some player announcements, hopefully some some cool stuff from Mr. Bass. And Preston, like I said here, thank you for what all you've done, for working with us here and turning over the keys to Kevin. What's life without goals? We're out of here. Peace.